Welcome into the GSMC Sports Podcast for our final segment of the day, where we are going to be talking about some NBA playoff games from last night. We had 3 games. We're going to start from most recent to the first one, in that we saw the Denver Nuggets end up with another, it's hard to call it necessarily a comeback because it was very early on, but a double-digit comeback for the third time in 3 games, and they are now up 3-0 in the series against the Los Angeles Lakers, who, by the end of that game, it seemed like they were just about done. Seemed like a team that was ready for Cancun, and listen, the Lakers are... I always did think that they were a little bit overrated this season, but it is a fact that when the Lakers brand is good, it is good for the sport, and there was, legitimate intrigue that they could potentially put up some sort of a fight against Denver, but it just seems like at this point they are pretty checked out. After blowing that lead, it seemed like the Nuggets were just rolling in the second half, and especially down the stretch of that final quarter, it looked like they were totally checked out. The defensive miscues, Anthony Davis, for as tremendous as he has been this series, he's definitely been, LeBron James has obviously been really good too, but I think that Anthony Davis has been the second best player in this series outside of Nikola Jokic. Him and Jokic have, matched up back and forth the entire series, and by the end of that fourth quarter, it seemed like he was just sort of jogging around out there, and this was a team that had sort of lost their will to continue fighting. You had LeBron James dribbling off of his own foot late in that fourth quarter, just sort of like shook his head, threw his hands up. He's like, whatever, we're done here. And there was the clip that's circulating about D'Angelo Russell not being in the team's huddle. Seems like he sort of knows that his time as a Laker is coming to an end. He had another scoreless night. He had responded really well in Game 2, ended up scoring 22 points, I believe it was. He knocked down 6 threes, and he was much better in Game 2 than he was in Game 1, where he also mightily struggled from the field. But last night, another abysmal performance from him offensively. Was 0 of 7 in the game, 0 of 6 from 3. And, it's going to be interesting. Again, we're going to talk a lot more about the Lakers offseason as the months go on here. So in this condensed segment here that we have all these games to get to, I don't want to spend too much time on it. But I think it's going to be a very interesting conversation as to seeing what LeBron James does, because I don't think that the Lakers are going to be able to win a finals anytime soon necessarily. And you have LeBron and AD who have put together really nice seasons, and D'Angelo Russell was even actually good in the regular season. And despite that, considering the fact that your third best player in Russell clearly isn't the fit for these postseason games, you got all 3 of them to play good seasons, and you ended up as the 7th seed still. So I think that LeBron, it's going to be interesting to see how he sort of evaluates his situation here moving forward, in terms of how much does he care about trying to continue to win. I feel like it would be uncharacteristic for him to just sort of say F it and play out the rest of his years just sort of chilling, maybe playing with his son, going to a bad team. I think he still wants to be competitive. He's still chasing the rings a little bit, but is he going to be willing to take a cheaper contract? Now, there are some teams out there that do have a little bit more money. The Orlando Magic is a little bit of an interesting fit. The Philadelphia 76ers should have a max spot open up over the offseason. Or is he going to try and team up with Kyrie again? Maybe take a cheaper deal to go to Dallas, maybe a cheaper deal to Oklahoma City. A lot of options are on the table, but again, we don't necessarily have all that much time right now to dive into that. But the Nuggets pull away with that 3-0 lead with a 112-105 win last night. We also saw the 76ers Knicks game where Joel Embiid responded in a big way. Not that he was ever necessarily the issue with their first 2 losses, but drops a playoff career high 50 points in this one. He was knocking down threes at an elite level. And this performance is really interesting because it's one that frankly probably shouldn't have even taken place, because early in that first quarter he was getting chippy. There was that little run-in with Isaiah Hartenstein, which I didn't think was too bad on his end, but then he both kicked Mitchell Robinson in the groin, and when Mitchell Robinson was going for an offensive rebound and putback, Embiid was yanking at his ankles from below. Was an extremely reckless play. I do legitimately think, and it's funny, I know Knicks fan favorite Emmanuel Quickly, he commented on that situation and said that he thought if it was anybody else that would have been an easy ejection. And I totally agree. He was given a flagrant one for the play, but that was an atrocious move from, one of the better players in the NBA, one of the best players in the NBA, but that was such a dirty play in my eyes. And I do think that if it weren't for Philly, if it weren't for Joel Embiid being the reigning MVP and having the star power and the Sixers being down 0-2 in the series, I feel like that would have been an easy ejection in most cases. But, Embiid gets away with it, and in turn, he sort of turns that unraveling early on to a dominant performance here. And the Knicks end up pulling away with this one. If you are a Knicks fan in this situation, listen, Philly was never going to just completely roll over here. And I know that our great co-host here at the GSMC Sports Network, Nelson, was all in on a sweep at this point. I didn't think that this Philly team, with Joel Embiid being as talented as he is, Tyrese Maxey I thought played really well through the first couple games as well. I just didn't think it was going to be possible for them to completely roll over like that. But again, not the game with the, utmost pressure for New York. Philly was definitely more desperate in this situation than New York was. But also on the bright side, Jalen Brunson finally sort of got his efficiency back. Now, as the game went on, that sort of dropped a little bit because of the fact that he was sort of having to do more to help keep the Knicks in this game, where they kept fighting. It looked like on a handful of opportunities the game was over, but the Knicks kept it interesting up until those last couple minutes. But Brunson, again, just under 50%, pretty solid, 39 points as well, so that is definitely encouraging to see. Now, are all of the concerns with Brunson gone? No, just the same way that I wasn't overreacting to the fact that Brunson wasn't efficient through his first couple games. I think that we just need a bigger sample size here. I think Brunson's going to be fine, but just like I wasn't overreacting one way when he wasn't good to start the playoffs, I'm also not going to say that everything was 100% fine just because of this performance as well. Small guard in the playoff thing does sort of stick out a little bit, but hopefully he continues to shine, because it is great for the sport, absolutely, having a star power like that player in New York. So Sixers win that game 125-114. Still feel like it's going to be the Knicks series. It's kind of their series to lose. I feel like the fact that Game 7, I don't think it's going to go that far, but Game 7 would be in New York. I feel like that would be a very tall task for the 76ers to, rattle off these 4 wins in 6 games and then cap it off with a performance at Madison Square Garden and try and knock off the Knicks at home. I feel like that's a tough one. But final game here, we had the Orlando Magic just sort of come from the grave, where it seemed like they were just about dead. They hadn't scored 90 points in either of their first 2 playoff games, and they just absolutely poured it on Cleveland, 121-83. They had a lead by as much as 43 at one point, and this felt like a young, inexperienced playoff team that was able to sort of build up some momentum for themselves because of the fact that they were at home for the first time. And not that Cleveland is necessarily the most devastating home court advantage, but for Orlando, they already are pretty limited offensively, and it seemed like they needed the juice of their home crowd to really get themselves going, and that they did. Paolo Banchero was tremendous in this. Early on, it seemed like he was struggling with his efficiency. I have the numbers somewhere here. He was not good he wasn't bad. He had 10 points, and they were just a lot of difficult shots. They weren't efficient necessarily, but he ended up finishing that first quarter with, I feel like I have the notes somewhere here. He was whatever, or you're gonna have to forgive me. I don't have it off the top right here, but it was 4 of 13. Is what he shot after the first quarter. But I thought that, once the second quarter started getting rolling, he was just knocking down these crazy tough shots, and he was really impressive in this one. He finished the game with 31, and maybe the Magic found some sort of something moving forward here. They decided to start Wendell Carter Jr. over Jonathan Isaac in this game. Isaac only ended up playing 16 minutes. Carter Jr., he didn't really fill up the stat sheet at all, but just from a defensive perspective, I thought that he did definitely help contribute. Cleveland was off offensively pretty much the whole time. There was a little bit, I feel like, of injury concern with Mitchell. The announcers talked about it at one point. Seemed like he was grimacing at one point. Didn't seem like he was his full aggressive version of himself. So that is something to sort of at least keep in mind. But I thought this was huge for the Magic to be able to have this type of a win. And I had sort of written them off. I still am going to lean with the Cavs in this series. But who knows? This could be an instance where the Magic sort of found something and they can build off of it. Again, a youthful team that it's almost a situation like ignorance is bliss. They don't really know how devastating sometimes being down 2-0 and not having home court advantage can be. So, we'll see how this plays out, but definitely was fun to see there. But that is all we have time for today. Thank you very much for tuning in to the GSMC Sports Podcast. Thank you to the GSMC Sports Network for allowing us to host this show. We run every 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern, so we will be back on Monday. Have a great weekend, and we will see you then.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet. Damn, ain't that great.